There are some wacky musical instruments, and to be honest, I'd love to figure out how to play all of them, like this Picasso guitar. First of all, let's take a minute to look at this thing. Designed by luthier Linda Manzer, the Picasso guitar is one of many odd instruments on this list. Mainly named after the Cubist work of the legendary artist Pablo Picasso, the instrument is actually a mix of modified harp guitars with a wedged-shaped body, having 4 necks and 2 sound holes and 42 strings. Originally, its design was made for the jazz musician Pat Metheny, who incorporated its sound in a lot of his work, but still it's a pretty cool instrument, kind of a hardcore boss level compared to a 6-string and a 12-string guitar, which doubles up its sound. It's either an acoustic or electric. As I have 13 instruments at home, you can bet the guitar is one of them, so I'd definitely love to see how this one plays and what kind of fun compositions can be made. Next is the nickel harpa, just as intense as the Picasso, but considering it has a similar bass as most violas, violins, and general string instruments in orchestral settings, it is actually considered and regarded as one of the oldest instruments existing in the music scene today. Traditionally a Swedish instrument, its name nickel harpa is defined as a key harp. Believed to have been invented in the early 14th century, this bad boy consists of 16 strings and 37 keys. Although, like most relatives of its kind have various types to exist, kind of like an intense Pokemon, here is actually a short clip of Thomas Roth playing a nickel harpa using a bow, very similar to that of a fiddle. If you notice in the clip, to play each string is similar to that of playing a keyboard, while also simultaneously bowing the instrument to get the accurate key and sound desired. I don't know about you, but I do have a violin at home, and trying to tune that thing makes me want to go insane for 8,000 years, especially without fine tuners. Guitars though are very easy to tune. Next on this list is the glass harmonica, also known as the bowl organ or aka the hydrocrystallophone. This instrument looks like a spinning wheel from the 16th century, but really is an instrument from the 18th century. Also known as a glass harmonica, also resembles the glass harp, an ancestor of the glass harmonica, which also can be found in Rome. The original version introduced in 1762 after it was invented in 1761 by Benjamin Franklin. For a brief period popular across all Europe, but of course it's been also through many renovations, revisions, and modifications since then. The instrument consists of several glass bowls and goblets of varying sizes fixed on a rotating axis, which would produce music when touched on the rims with wet fingers. Similar to playing a glass filled with water and playing eerie sounds by gently touching them. If you see that the scene in Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock, you'd know what I mean. This is when she was in that Texas scene and she thought someone was gonna jump someone. Yeah. If you want to look like a god, look no further than the Zeusphone, also known as the singing Tesla coils or the Theremin. Zeusphone is also one of the most bizarre instruments out there. Its 2 names are derived from the gods Zeus and Thor, as it is made from Tesla coils, which is modified to produce music by controlling its spark output. Even though the frequency is resulting wave is beyond the limit of human perception, it is digitally modulated to an audible wave. Created in 2007, it was meant as an experimental fun crossing science and music while making it entertaining, and like that, the organ had blasted fire from the pipes, or the exploding organ made in the early Victorian era. But ever since the invention of the Tesla coil by Nikola Tesla in 1891, never before had the Tesla coil product achieved such an incredible level of precision and control as to be able to amplify music through lightning-like arcs exceeding 1 million volts of electricity potential. Thus, the revolution in Tesla coil technology began with the Zeusphone. This looks like a bunch of random rods together. I mean, it is, but it's also not. It's an experimental musical instrument that was invented by Bart Hopkin. The branching Kuga horn consists of a mouthpiece and several corrugated pipes of varying lengths. When air rushes through the corrugated tube, it can produce an audible tone. That's the idea, after all, behind the branching Kuga horn. A single mouthpiece leads to an air chamber with several corrugated tubes extending from it, and the player blows into the mouthpiece while stopping the tubes by covering the ends with his fingertips. Whenever the player lifts a finger to open a tube, that tube will emit a sound. By blowing harder or softer, the player will make the air go faster or slower by bringing out different notes to each tube. Each tube can produce several notes, and 3 or 4 tubes together can complete a whole scale, as it is made from flexible corrugated pipes which are normally found in hospitals or workshops. Hydrophone is a tonal acoustic musical instrument played by direct physical contact with water. The hydrophone was described and named by Steve Mann in 2005 and patented in 2011. Typically, sound sound is produced by the same hydraulic fluid in contact with the player's fingers. It has been used as a sensory exploration device for low vision individuals. This term may be applied based on the interface used to play the instrument, in which a player blocks the flow of water through a particular hole in order to sound a particular note, or based on hydraulic sound production mechanisms. Hydrophones use a water flow sounding producing mechanism, as they have been using a user interface which is blocking water jets to produce sound. Some hydrophones include an underwater hydrophone pickup to allow the sounds produced by the water to be electrically amplified, as electric amplification allows effects to be added, as with an electric guitar, as well as making the hydrophone a hyper-acoustic instrument that is using computation to change the acoustic sound of the water into some other instrument. The hydrophone is similar to a woodwind instrument, but it runs in incompressible or less compressible fluid rather than a compressible air like gas. In this context, hydrophones are sometimes called wood-water instruments regardless of whether or not they are made of wood. The Ontario Science Centre in Canada houses the largest hydrophone in the world. Another absolutely strange musical instrument is the singing ringing tree. It's actually a sculpture located in Penia Hills, England. Completed in 2006, it is part of the series of 4 sculptures within the Pentatonic Arts and Regeneration Project created by the East Lancashire Environmental Arts Network, aka ELEAN. The project was set up to erect a series of 21st century landmarks, or panopticons, which is structures providing a comprehensive view across East Lancashire as symbols of the Renaissance of the area. This was designed by architects Mike Tonkin and Anna Liu. Having a height of 3 meters, the sculptures is made of galvanized steel pipes of various lengths which have several holes. The instrument produces a sound of musical quality with the passage of wind through the holes. In 2007, the sculpture won, along with 13 other candidates, the National Award of Royal Institute of British Architects (RIBA) for architectural excellence. Although it was moved to Texas and the cost covered of reinstallation and moving costs was assisted by anonymous donors, for some reason you can't hear it. The sculpture is actually mostly silent in the Abilene location, with Director of Abilene Cultural Affairs Council admitting the most visitors have heard it, or actually haven't heard it yet. The reason why the tubes have failed consistently to produce noise is still unknown. There's a good chunk of people who might be aware of the Theremin, originally known as the Hydrophone. A theremin is a unique musical instrument, as the most amazing feature of the electric instrument is that it is played without physical contact, and was the first one to do so. It was designed by Russian inventor Leon Theremin in 1920, and it was named after him. The theremin consists of 2 metal antennas which can sense the relative position of the performer's hand, and 2 oscillators connected to them. The performers move his hands with the range of the antennas, and the distance between one hand and the antenna determines the pitch, while the distance between the corresponding others determines the volume. It is actually one of the earliest inventions of electronic musical instruments. Sharpsichord is a unique instrument, as unlike other types of instrument, is generated by solar power. Also known as barrel harp, it was invented by an instrument maker, Henry Dagg. The sharpsichord is a perforated cylinder containing 11,520 holes into which the musician plugs pins to create music. These cylinders rotate and the pins trigger a mechanism that plugs the appropriate strings. Anyone can create his own music with the instrument, however it can only be played for a maximum of 90 seconds, after which it has to be reprogrammed. It took around 4 years for Henry Dagg to create a sharpsichord after he was unable to do so, following a commission from the English Folk Dance and Song Society in 2006. The instrument actually took a total of £90,000 to build, and the sharpsichord was used by Björk at her bibliophilia tour of the song Sacrifice. Salaka piped organ was created by a Pentagon scientist, Leland W. Sprinkle, in 1956. The great Salaka pipe organ is considered the world's largest musical instrument, as it's occupying more than 3 acres of Luray Caverns in Virginia. The organ produces musical tones by striking a stalactite of different sizes with rubber mallets using a keyboard console. The music produced by the instrument can be heard from anywhere in the caverns without a loudspeaker. A Scandinavian group's Pepe Deluxe was the first artist to record an original composition on the instrument in 2011. The organ is also fully capable of being played manually, as Leland Sprinkle did for many years, which is pretty cool as it marks an interesting instrument in history. And of course, speaking of history, that's all for today. Be sure to like and subscribe. My name is Jess, and I wish you all the best. Bye!